Hey, welcome back to another video nobody asked for. I'm Sarah, and today I'm going to do another installment of stories I couldn't tell until I graduated. I'm back, and I'm snitching on everybody. For no particular reason, every story, or just situation, because not all of them are necessarily stories, is alleged, okay? Let's get right into it. So, my high school may or may have not been a school that had a particularly notable teacher of the year that may or may not have been on certain talk shows and may or may not be in the government now. But I'm gonna leave it at that. So this particular teacher had a really awesome habit of talking trash about their students. Now, some people might think, well, doesn't every teacher talk trash about their students? One, no. And two, not to other students' faces. Okay, this teacher had a particular habit of talking trash about their students to other classes that may or may not have actually known. She was never a teacher of mine, ever. She just knew of me because I may or may not have been in a particular accelerated program that she was the head of, and that I'm going to so lovingly refer to as Fly. My junior year of high school, I was trying to get into National Honor Society, and there were certain requirements to get into the National Honor Society. Like, you had to have a certain number of community service hours, you had to be a part of 2 clubs, or just 2 extracurricular activities. They could be clubs or they could be sports. And you had to have a certain GPA, 3.5 or higher, I don't remember. I may have run a little bit behind on my community service hours. Being a part of Fly, I had to do a certain number of hours each year, and we had to fill out sheets whenever we did hours and hand them in to this teacher who was the head of it. And I went to her to just check how many hours I had, because I wasn't keeping track of myself. And she told me a number that was not enough to get into honor site, and I was freaking out because I'm just like, I need. So I realized I actually got some of the details wrong. What had actually happened was I went to this teacher to check my community service hours, and she told me I was only off by a couple hours, so I handed in some of the sheets that I had forgotten to hand it in from earlier. Then all of a sudden she says I'm off by 10 hours, which of course, upon hearing, I naturally freaked out about, because the deadline was in a couple of days. So now I had to cram 10 hours of community service within one weekend to get into honor society. Oh my gosh. And she's just like, calm down, you're gonna be fine. I ended up cramming a bunch of community service hours at the last minute, and I got in. But I found out that this particular teacher said to her freshman class, oh yeah, there was a certain student who was freaking out over community service hours. Personally, I don't think she's National Honor Society material. Some of the freshmen in that class knew me and knew the whole situation. And they were like, Sarah, guess who was talking trash about you? And I was like, are you serious? I don't understand how a person simply being behind on community service hours makes them not National Honor Society material. That was so dumb of her to say. Not to mention that she had never had me as a student, so she had no idea what my work ethic was like. She didn't know me as a person either, so the fact that she thought she could say that simply because I was a little behind on community service hours, which I ended up getting in time before the deadline, was really dumb. And plus, I wasn't even the only one who was behind in hours either. And I'm still salty to this day, obviously. That really pissed me off, especially since she was saying that to other students, and she had a huge habit of doing that, as I mentioned before. There were students that she was blatantly faked who, like, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I love you, I love you, I love you, and she'd be like, yeah, and then as soon as they'd leave the room, she'd start talking trash about them to the students who were in her room. My younger sisters, they had her, and they said she would do that type of stuff all the time, and she didn't care. She'd be like, oh, well, I go to church, so cancels it out. The next thing I want to talk about is how people in the program I was in, Fly, were treated a little better than the rest of the student population. There are people in the Fly program who would regularly go out for coffee runs during the school day and never get in trouble for it, because it's not like we had one of those schools where you could leave campus in the middle of the day and go to lunch or something. You had to stay there the whole entire day unless you were getting picked up or something. The whole coffee runs without any repercussions was quite strange, and there were a bunch of people in the, well, not a bunch, but there were a few particular girls in the fly program that would do that all the time. People in the fly program also got advantages over people who were in the fly program because we had specific requirements. Like I mentioned before, we had to do 15 hours of community service every single year, which isn't something that was, I don't even think it was something that was talked to for the rest of the student population. We were required to do 2 extracurricular activities, and AP classes were usually offered to us before they were offered to the rest of the student body. It's not like the rest of the student body couldn't do those things, it's just they weren't being told to do those things. You know, AP classes were pushed on us. If you were in the fly program from sophomore year to senior, you were expected to continuously take AP classes. Those things were not pushed on everybody else. Now it is an accelerated program, so of course, what do you expect? But I kind of think that kind of put us at an advantage, especially when it came to college applications. Come senior year, most people in high school know, most people who are college bound in high school know that when it comes to filling out college applications, having good grades is great, but you want to go further than having good grades. You want to do more than that. You know, you want to be a part of extracurricular activities. Community service also looks really good. Not to mention, having AP classes boosts your GPA because they're weighted higher than regular classes. Not to mention, the fly classes are rated higher than regular classes too. I mean, I do think it's fair because they were supposed to be harder, so I get why they were weighted higher. Most people in the general population didn't know that, and the few that found out were like, oh, excuse me, what? Which I get. I probably would say the same thing, which is the reason why all our GPAs were higher than the rest of the population. I mean, like, if you were in the fly program and your GPA wasn't higher than the rest of the population, you were obviously doing really poorly. So another advantage that the fly kids got over the rest of the population is if you were caught in a hall sweep, you wouldn't get in trouble. Now, what a hall sweep was that the principal would announce, you know, now we're having a hall sweep, and all the teachers would go out and see who was in the hallway. And if there was a student in the hallway and they didn't have a pass, they had to go down to the office and they'd get suspended, which is completely stupid thinking back. It's like, okay, somebody is in the hallway without a pass, so they're gonna get suspended?
Why? 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 Why?
Imagine being a parent and getting that phone call, oh, your student was in the hallway without a pass, so that's why we're suspending them. Like, I'd be so mad as a parent hearing that ridiculousness. I guess it was to combat skipping, because a lot of people skip class. If a black kid was caught in the hallway during a hall sweep, they wouldn't get in trouble. I remember there was this one time I was going from English class to my French class, and it was just one staircase and then I was right there to my French class. But this particular day, I hadn't gotten a pass for my English year, because from going from my English class to my French class, I always ended up getting there late. I always managed to end up staying behind way longer than I needed to. And we only had 4 minutes to get to class after the bell rang. So I'd always end up getting there after the late bell. Anywho, many a time she would usually give us a pass, but this particular time she didn't give me a pass, or at least I didn't ask for one. I went to class thinking, I'm not gonna get in trouble, I'm gonna be fine. In the back of my head, I always thought, you know, if I am in the hallway during a hall sweep, I'll just go to the nearest staircase and hide. I was going from the staircase, and I was literally my first foot was about to step into the hall, and they're like, we're now calling a hall sweep. I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
Are you running?
I literally went right back into that staircase, went to the middle part of the staircase so I wouldn't be noticed if they tried to look into the staircase. I just crouched down and I just hit them like, oh my gosh. I'm not trying to get suspended right now. There were a lot of times where I've been in the hallway during a hall flip that year. Every other time I was in the hallway, I always had a pass. I'd always be like, look at it, check it. But this particular time I didn't have a pass, so I'm like, oh my gosh. So I just hid, and then it was over, and then I went to class, and they're like, wait, Sarah, are you in the hallway? Yes. Honestly, truly, my French teacher, she also really liked me, so if she saw me in the hallway, she's like, Sarah, get in class! So it would have been fine either way. So I was telling my friends about this, and they're like, Sarah, fly kids don't get in trouble for being in the hallway during hall sweeps. Even if they sent you to the office, they'd be like, oh, we know you weren't skipping. They would have let you go scot-free. Because there was a time where someone else in Fly got sent to the office for a hall sweep and they didn't get suspended. I hid for nothing. The next thing I'm going to talk about happened I'm not gonna say what year it happened because it's kind of sketch. I love this teacher, no doubt, but this thing she did was kind of sketch. So I had this teacher 1 year of high school. She kind of let us do whatever the heck we wanted. Maybe she didn't feel like teaching. She did teach. Now, I'm not gonna say she didn't teach. She definitely taught. She gave us answers to tests. Many a time. There would be so many times. Because I guess, you know, as a teacher, you have to give tests. So she would continuously give us answers to the test. Is this allowed? But I'll take it. I'll take the free A. I'll take the free A. It was great. It was amazing. We're like, we love her. She's literally one of my favorite teachers in high school. I'm not gonna lie. If you failed her class, you weren't trying. Either you weren't trying or you just weren't showing up. And that class was definitely a class worth showing up to. I mean, I showed up to all my classes, even ones I didn't want to show up to. If you were only going to show up to one class, you have to show up to hers. Her class was the best. We were constantly watching movies. Oh, love her. She was the best. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is rankings may or may have not been forged. Now, I know you might be thinking, Sarah, are you just saying that rankings may or may have not been forged because you weren't valedictorian? No, I wasn't even close to being valedictorian, okay? No, it wasn't that deep to me. I heard rumors that the rankings were inaccurate. Certain people, valedictorian at the top, were not supposed to be there. And there was a part of me that kind of thought that people who were saying that were jealous, that their ranks weren't higher, but upon further investigation, I'm like, how did that person get that rank? I hate to say that out, people, but this person wasn't all that bright, and yet their rank was so very high, and definitely witnessed cheating firsthand. That's weird. That's suspicious. That's weird. That's suspicious. Suspicious. Last but certainly not least thing is, a friend of my sister's did it in a hallway after school. And you know what's so weird? I stayed after school that day and I almost went into that staircase. I almost was the person who caught them. That would have been horrifying. The teacher actually caught them and they were both suspended. I was definitely in the school building when it happened. I just didn't go into that staircase. Oh my gosh, funny enough, that girl was in the fly program too. I mean, not anymore after that. The fly program was supposed to be the smartest kids in the school, but that was questionable. And this isn't to say that there weren't smart people in the fly program. There definitely were. I mean, I was in it. Let me stop, because I wasn't that. No, let me not. I am a smart person. I'm just very lazy. That's all. There were a bunch of smart people in the fly program. It's just there were some people that were questionable. There were a lot of people outside of the fly program. It's like, it's a mystery that you are not in the fly program. Gosh, you know what's funny? I actually didn't even want to be in the fly program. My dad forced me to apply for it, so I almost wasn't in it. I didn't want to be in it at all. And then I tried to purposely fail at getting in it. I'm like, let me make my essay horrible. And then my essay turned out good anyway. Well, because my dad proofread it. It could have just turned in a different thing. I don't understand why I didn't do that. Anywho, I failed at failing, and I got in anyway. The rest is history, obviously. So that's all I have for today. If you didn't hate this video, you can like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.